It's a beautiful day right here, and of course, I celebrate all of you. I just want to talk a little bit about the weekend. It was so intriguing, it was so entertaining, it was so fascinating, but for some persons, it was disappointing. My name is Ramsey Enoch. So good to have you join us on Talk Sports this beautiful Monday. Monday is the first working day of the week, and of course, Liverpool already, as I speak to you right now, what should I say? But then, Man City routed Liverpool to mark last milestone. And for Forest, they survived the bid. That and many more will be coming on your way today. And don't forget that the playoff is about to get started. It's not all about starting the playoff. If we win from Africa, we get to the continent to qualify for the World Cup. We'll talk about the Mundial here, and it's not a child's play. Now, let me just bring you result of some of the games that we have played over the weekend. Then we'll also go to the NPFL, that's back home, to also intimate you about everything happening from the world of sport, from the Nigeria National Football League. But from England, right here, Manchester City celebrated Pep Guardiola's 1,000 game as a manager with a 3-0 win against Liverpool. That led back into the Premier League title race, with Nottingham Forest beating Leeds 3-1 to actually boost up their survival bid. And these games went down yesterday, Sunday. A lot of people, if you come near where I actually participate in game, we will let you know that everything is going on well. But then major story and headlines will be coming on your way after this break. Ramsey is returning for Talk Sport. Just stay with. Well, I was almost talking about Elland's penalty miss before I actually went on that break. I needed to go on break because, as a matter of fact, talking about that penalty miss, well, it was an early miss for him, and more so that it happened in Etihad Stadium. But the City striker actually recovered to give Guardiola's side the lead. And of course, Nico Gazzolex increased the advantage before halftime. And of course, Jeremy Doku was the one who capped his man of the match performance with City's third in the second half. It was the perfect way for former Barcelona and Bayern Munich boss Guardiola to mark the latest milestone in the glittering 17 years career, including 716 victories that he has achieved so far. If you ask me, I will tell you it's not a child's play to get to that feat. Then second place, City are just 4 points behind leaders Arsenal, who conceded a last-gasp equalizer in their 2-2 draw at the Sunderland on Saturday. Well, the push, this is Premier League we're talking about here, and of course, the push is not something to take for granted. Everyone is on the move to get to the top of the table, and it was a very beautiful one from there. But then City's 7th win in their last 8 games in all competition was a major blow to Liverpool Liverpool's hopes of course, retaining the title. When then, can they retain the title? I'm talking about Liverpool right here. It took Liverpool a very long time before they actually clinched the title. But then, would they be able to maintain the title? It's something that is possible. We're talking about Liverpool here. Well, I think we should be asking Manchester City also, but the troubled champions have already lost 7 of their last 10 matches. My God, my God. In all competitions, and of course, trail Arsenal by 8 points. But then they are, of course, marooned in 8th place after the momentum from the successive wins over Aston Villa and Real Madrid dissipated into the rainy Manchester air. Okay, it was Forest's first league victory since beating Brentford on the opening weekend of the season. That game was played in August. You can really remember that game very well, where Nuno Espirito Santo was actually in charge of Forest then before being sacked. Well, we're talking about sack right now. Let me just congratulate all the coaches that are doing well right now, because as the season progresses, some coaches begin to know their fate, whether they will be sacked or not. But the question I keep asking is, why is it that coaches are always being sacked, but players always remain? But before he was being sacked to make a way for Angel Postecoglou, whose brief reign also ended with a dismissal before St. Dyke actually took charge. Second bottom Forest, actually their maiden top flight victory under Dyke's management ended their 9-match winless run in the competition, and they lifted them to what I call within just 1 point safety. But then let's go and talk about other games that were played, and this one is between Aston Villa and Bournemouth, of course. Should I say something? You want me to say it? Well, I call this one a thrashing. This is a thrashing. When you're flogging somebody like your child, that's what it means. Because Aston Villa thrashed Bournemouth 4-0 to make it 5 wins from their last 6 league games. That's beautiful for me. You play 6 games and you are winning about 4 out of it. It's a good one for me. They still really want to do more. But Newcastle's miserable away form continued with a dismissal 3-1 defeat at Brentford. Magpies forward Harvey Barnes was on target 3 minutes before the halftime, but then Kevin Schultz equalized in the 56th minute, and Newcastle defender, talking about Dan Bonn, was sent off in the 73rd minute after conceding a penalty with a foul on Dango Katara. But then I think it was also a good one because Igor Thiago converted from the spot, and the Brazilian forward was able to strike again in the stoppage time, and it was a beautiful one. Newcastle are now languishing in 14th place, and of course they have failed to win an away league match in the 9th attempt since April. But then Crystal Palace and Brighton were able to share their own game. They shared a point. Instead of us winning, let's share the lot. It was supposed to be 3 points, but then they shared it 1 point as they drew 0-0 in Selhurst Park to leave both teams in the mid-table, and that's a good one for them. But then when you are the middle here, it's either you're going down or you're going up the ladder, but every club, of course, would want to go up the ladder. Mikel Arteta actually admitted Arsenal's 2-2 draw at Sunderland, which left him a stomach ache as he actually bemoaned their rare defensive collapse. Oh my God, that's bad, man. Well, that's Arsenal we're talking about right here. But then it was a very good one as Bobby was able to stab home from Dan Ballard's header, of course, in the 4th minute of the stoppage time to actually end Arsenal's 10-game winning run in all competitions. 10 games, my God. The former Arsenal defender, talking about Ballard, had, of course, put Sunderland ahead before Bukayo Saka equalized, and Landro Trossard actually blasted the Ghana into the lead. Losing their impressive run of 8 consecutive clean sheet was a bitter blow for Arteta. Oh my God. It is a game. What were you expecting? It was a beautiful one right there. Then I was giving you the breakdown of all the matches that were played. This is a full result of the matches that were played over the weekend from EPL, of course, and that's what the headlines, of course, is right now. And of course, Chelsea's Gustavo William has struggled to adapt to London weather after moving from Brazil, but then the teenage star is in red hot form on the pitch. Gustavo has been Chelsea's standout performer in the first half of the season, and of course he was able to deliver another influential cameo in their game that was played on Saturday. I told you I'm bringing you results from the games that were played over the weekend. Apart from the Manchester City routing Liverpool, these are full result of the Premier League matches over the weekend, and of course it was against the bottom of the table Wolves. Chelsea were bold. My God, Chelsea's game is what we're looking at right now. Do you know how they boo someone off at the halftime after being held goalless? But then when you're playing with a particular club, if you are a big club, remember that the fans will always come after you. I wasn't surprised that the booing came for them during the halftime when the game was goalless, because going to play with a club like that, everyone will expect Chelsea to deal with them, but then it was a big blow, and of course the fans had no choice than to boo Chelsea. I know they were the chanting and of course the booing, because put Wolves and of course Chelsea side by side, you know what it means. But the Malo Gusto broke the deadlock before Gustavo came on to set up Joe Pedro's goal less than 2 minutes after his introduction. Pedro netted a tap in, of course, Chelsea's third to catapult them into a third place. Congratulations to you guys. If you guys didn't win this game, I would have said something, but I'm not going to say it. But then Arsenal's 6 points behind Arsenal right now. That means they are 6 points behind Arsenal, meaning Arsenal is far ahead of them right now. I'm trying to give you a comparison of the games that were played over the weekend. Don't forget that I'll also bring you the highlight. As a matter of fact, I told you that Aston Villa trashed Bournemouth, and a lot of people never saw it coming, and that's the reason we need to watch the highlight to really know how everything went down and how it is going. But then for Newcastle United, I think they claimed the third successive Champions League win in midweek, and of course you remember that. But in the Premier League, it was a very different thing altogether. They are stuttering, and it looked good for the Hove's side, because as a matter of fact, they went ahead at Brentford with a heavy Barnes goal, but then Brentford responded impressively after the break with the Kevin Shade equalizing with a header before Newcastle afternoon disintegrated. They actually disintegrated, of course, but Andy Howe actually took the blame for Newcastle's dismissal away from after their winless run on the road in the Premier League extended to 9 matches with a 3-1 defeat against Brentford, and that was on Sunday. But then Newcastle are languishing in 14th place, just 2 points above the relegation zone. My God, I don't like hearing about relegation, because if any club enter relegation, the fans, their mouths will be shut. You know, the coach will not have mouths to talk. But then let's see how it's going to go. But going to relegation right now will not be too good for any club, as a matter of fact. But then, in contrast to their stronger form at home this season, Holt's men have already looked timid on the travel. That's what I mean. Insisting it was his responsibility to resolve the problem, Ho actually said, and I would like to quote him, he said it is different to actually that of West Ham's game, but it's importantly today that he supports the players. Nottingham Forest were able to beat relegation rivals, talking about lead 3-1 to secure the front course, a Premier League victory of Shendijk's reign. I already talked about that. We have a little highlights to that game, which will interest you to win. See how the goals were netted, how the goals came in, and how everything went on. So we'll be looking at the highlights of all the games from the Premier League that I just talked about, and of course every other highlights that we have for you today, before we return again and bring you some other things. But then before that highlight even come, as is getting ready, they are queuing it up right now, it will also interest you to know that Lewamdowski hat-trick was able to fire Barcelona to a 4-2 win at Celta Vigo, and it was a very beautiful one. It was interesting because Robert Lewandowski scored a hat-trick as Barcelona beat Celta Vigo 4-2. What were you expecting? Well, it was on Sunday, and it was a very wonderful one. But as Blains on Sunday to move back up the table, that has taken them up the table. But then, what's your assessment? I'm leaving that to you. Get to the comment section and drop your reactions for us. What you think about Barcelona's performance right now? Some people said the leaving of Barcelona was the beginning of the leaving of Lionel Messi, I beg your pardon, was the beginning of not too beautiful display by Barcelona. As a matter of fact, that was a very good one. I think we should actually give it to the player, as you see him right there on the screen. But Barcelona were able to take the lead from the spot early on when Lewandowski converted a penalty. But Sergio Canera quickly leveled for the host, and it was a beautiful one. Lewandowski's second, a well-taken finish from the open play, actually was able to put the coolers back in front before Borja Iglesias drew Celta level against shortly before halftime. But then Lamine Yamal was able to restore Barcelona's lead in the stoppage time at the end of the first half to make it 3-2. But at least at the break, that's what it was. But in the second half, Lewandowski was able again to complete his treble with a powerful header from a corner, less than, I think, if you check it very well, if you're a football lover, if you check that very well, you know that it is 20 minutes from time when that goal actually came in from that corner. And of course, that was able to put the result beyond doubt and securing the victory for the visitors. It was a very beautiful one. And of course, it will also interest you to know that Lewandowski's treble has now helped Barcelona, of course, to fill in and cut up the gap on the Real Madrid. Of course, you know, the fight is always between Real Madrid and, of course, Barcelona, because if you take it to the La Liga, everyone will be rooting for either Barcelona or Real Madrid, even though we have some clubs in the La Liga in Spain right there who are also not doing badly. Right now, let's take you through the highlights that we have, beginning from, of course, the